All right, so this is 6.6, part 2. And now we're back looking at slightly more complex questions. So we have two formulas that we've been introduced to for sequences and series. Okay, we have the new one, Sn is equal to n over 2 a1 plus tn. We also have the other one from yesterday. Okay, so that one is Tn is equal to A1 plus D n minus 1. And for some questions, you need to use both of these formulas. So here it says they want us to find D if Sn is 783, A1 is 3. So if we look at just this Sn formula, look here, there is no D mentioned at all. Okay? So we can't just use this formula to find D. In this case, we need to use this formula to be able to find D. But we don't have all the information to be able to find D. Remember, you only can have one unknown. You have to have all the other parts of the formula need to be filled in with numbers. So if we're looking for D, we need to know everything else. We know n, okay, n is 27. And we know A1, which is 3, but we don't have a Tn. Okay, if you look here, we don't have a Tn. So that means that first we need to use this formula to solve for our Tn, and then once we have a Tn, we can use this formula to then find D. Okay, so we need to do this in 2 steps. So we'll start off by writing out what we know. So here we know that Sn is equal to 783. We know that n is equal to 27. We know that A1 is equal to 3. We don't know Tn, and we don't know D. We have 2 unknowns. So our step 1 is going to be find the Tn. So we have to do that first before we can find D. So we'll use our formula. Sn is equal to n over 2 A1 plus Tn. And then we'll fill in the information we know. So we know Sn is 783. Our n is 27, and our A1 is 3, and then we don't know Tn. So we can simplify this, 783. I'm going to do 27 divided by 3, and I get 13.5. 3 plus Tn. Then I'm going to multiply. So this needs to get multiplied to the 3 as well as to the Tn. So you have to make sure you multiply to both spots. So I get 783 is equal to 40.5 plus 13.5 Tn. Okay. I need to move all of my numbers to the same side. So I'm going to subtract 40.5 from both sides. So 783 minus 40.5 gives me 742.5. 13.5 Tn, and then I don't want any number in front of my Tn, so I'm going to divide by 13.5, and I get Tn is equal to 55. Okay. Now I can take my formula from yesterday, find D. A1 plus D and minus 1. So I'm going to use this formula from yesterday. I'm going to use it to be able to find the D. So we know our Tn is 55. We just calculated that. A1 is 3. We don't know the D. And then n minus 1 gives me 26. So I'm going to multiply this here, and I'm going to move my 3 over to the other side. Subtract 3 from both sides. So I end up with 52 is equal to 26D, and then I'm going to divide everything by 26 so I can get rid of it. So I get D is equal to 2. So for this question, my final answer is D is equal to 2. Okay, so I needed 2 formulas for this one. Okay, so we can try another example now. So in this one it says it wants us to know Sn if our this is A7. So this means it's the Tn is 21 and D is 3. They do not give us an A1. So we want to know Sn is something, Tn is 21, N is 7, D is 3, and A1 is question mark. So this time we also need two equations. This time we need to use the equation from yesterday first. Tn is equal to A1 plus D n minus 1. So we read out our equation and we're going to fill in what we know. 21 is equal to A1 plus 3, and my n is 7, so 7 minus 1 gives me 6. So then I get 21 is equal to A1. I multiply my 3 and my 6 together to give me 18. And then I need to move that 18 to the other side so the A1 can be by itself. And my answer, A1 is equal to 3. So that's my step 1. Okay, now I have all the information I need. I can focus on my Sn, my sum. Sn is n over 2, A1 plus Tn. So I have all of the information I need. I have 7 over 2, my A1 is 3, and my Tn is 21. 7 divided by 2 gives me 3.5. 3 added with 21 gives me 24. Then I need to multiply 3.5 and 24 together. So I get Sn is equal to 84. And that's my final answer for this question. Okay. So you can now go and do page 269, number 2. Okay, so the rest of the question, you're going to do C, and then you're going to do E to H. And for all of these questions, you always will need two equations. Sometimes you'll have to use the sum equation first. Sometimes you'll have to use the Tn equation first. So you have to figure out which equation to use first, but all of these require two equations. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that part.